right. So we're diving into discipline and self-control today.
Uh-huh.
And, you shared this English learning podcast with me, Speak English with Class.
Yes.
And I have to say, while it's great for language learners,
Yeah.
there's some really deep stuff in there about discipline
Right.
and self-control. It's like
It is.
they snuck in a whole self-improvement course
I know.
under the guise of vocabulary.
Exactly.
And one of the things that really struck me was how they differentiate between discipline and self-control right away.
Yeah. They make a clear distinction.
Because it's not just about willpower.
No, it's more nuanced than that.
It's about understanding those two things
Absolutely.
as separate concepts.
Yes.
So they define discipline as,
That commitment.
yes, that commitment to taking action.
Even when it's hard.
Even when you don't want,
It's
like
going to the gym.
going to the gym on a rainy day.
Oh, yeah.
When you just want to stay home and read a book.
Exactly. Or sticking to a study schedule.
Yes.
When you'd rather be out with friends.
Totally.
It's about doing what needs to be done.
No matter what.
Right.
Okay, so then what about self-control?
Okay, so self-control is more about resisting those temptations, those distractions that can derail us,
Okay.
keep us from our goals.
So
Think about those ads
yeah.
that try to tempt you to buy things you don't need.
Oh,
Or that extra slice of pizza
ooh, that extra slice of pizza.
when you're already full.
Yes.
It's about saying no. When your brain is saying yes.
Exactly. And they bring up this really interesting example.
Yeah.
The marshmallow test.
The classic.
The classic marshmallow test of the kids, right?
Yes. Where they give a child a marshmallow.
And they say,
you can eat this now, or if you wait.
you can have 2 later.
Exactly.
And it's fascinating.
It is.
Because the kids who could delay gratification
resist that temptation.
They
ended up having better outcomes.
Later in life. So it makes you think.
It does.
Could we all benefit
I think so.
from applying this marshmallow test approach
I think so too.
to our lives?
It's a good question.
Delaying gratification.
Yeah.
Resisting those impulses.
It's not easy, though.
No.
Much easier said than done, right?
It is.
But the podcast does offer some really interesting strategies for putting this into practice.
Okay.
One that really stood out to me was the idea of habit stacking.
Habit stacking, okay.
Which is essentially piggybacking a new habit onto an existing one. So, for example, let's say you want to start flossing every day. You could stack that habit onto brushing your teeth.
Oh, I see. So
you brush your teeth, and then you immediately floss.
Got it.
So you're not adding a whole new task.
You're just kind of
You're just integrating
it, yeah.
Into something you already do automatically.
That's a good idea.
It's a subtle shift, but it can make a big difference.
Okay.
And they emphasize this point that even small changes, consistently applied over time, can lead to significant results.
So it's not about being perfect.
No.
It's about making progress.
Exactly.
And that really resonates with me.
Yeah.
Because I am always trying to form new habits. But sometimes those grand plans,
they fizzle out.
They totally fizzle out.
It's easy to get overwhelmed when you try to do too much at once. It's like that old saying, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right.
Building discipline and self-control. It's a process.
It's a journey.
It's a journey, exactly.
And like any journey,
you need the right tools.
You need the right tools and strategies.
Absolutely.
And they also talk about understanding your motivations.
Yes.
And your triggers. Being mindful of those moments when you're most vulnerable.
To temptation.
Yes, to temptation.
Absolutely.
Can help you avoid those pitfalls.
Exactly. It's about recognizing those patterns in your behavior.
Okay, so give me an example.
Sure, do you reach for your phone?
Every time I'm bored, yes.
Or do you stress eat?
Oh, yeah, when I'm overwhelmed.
So once you're aware of these tendencies, you can start to develop strategies.
To manage them.
To manage them more effectively.
Okay, so it's knowing your weaknesses can actually be a strength.
Yeah.
Because it gives you the awareness to make different choices.
It's not about beating yourself up for those moments of weakness.
Well,
it's about understanding them.
And using that knowledge to make better choices.
More intentional decisions.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
More intentional decisions.
Right.
And then there's this whole idea about willpower being a finite resource.
Yes.
That really resonated with me.
It's a powerful concept.
They said tackle the most challenging tasks early in the day.
When your willpower is strongest.
When your willpower is strongest.
It makes sense, right?
It does, because
we all have limited mental energy.
So if you try to resist that tempting dessert
After a long day.
after a long, stressful day,
You're much more likely to cave.
than if you tried to resist it first thing in the morning.
Exactly.
It's like strategic scheduling.
Strategic scheduling for your self-control.
Like that.
Right.
They also gave us some tips for those moments.
Hmm.
When willpower is waning.
Oh, like what?
Like rewarding yourself
Yeah.
for those small wins.
That's a good one.
And that was interesting because
Yeah.
it plays into the psychology of motivation.
Exactly.
A small reward.
Yeah.
Even something like a cup of tea
Or a few minutes of listening to your favorite music.
can reinforce that positive behavior.
It can. It's like you're training your brain
Yeah.
to associate discipline with pleasure.
Oh, I like that. It's like, oh, if I do this hard thing,
You get something good.
I get something good. I
Exactly.
can get behind that.
And that can make a big difference in the long run.
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely.
It's funny, right?
Mhm.
How they weave in these language lessons.
Yeah.
And then they're giving us these
Yeah. It's
really deep
like
insights
a 2-for-1.
into human behavior.
I know.
I mean, who knew an English learning podcast could be so thought-provoking?
Well, I think it's interesting how they kind of highlight that connection between language and thought. Like, if you can actually articulate your goals
Mhm.
and understand these nuances
Yeah,
of concepts like discipline and self-control,
you're more likely to achieve them.
yeah, potentially.
It makes you think about the power of words,
It does, right?
how they shape our thoughts and actions.
Absolutely.
Like a muscle
Mm-hmm.
that gets stronger with practice.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that's a valid analogy?
I do, actually.
Okay.
There's a lot of research in psychology
Okay.
that supports this whole idea of ego depletion.
Okay, so tell me about that.
So basically, our ability to make good decisions
Uh-huh.
and resist those temptations,
Yeah.
it kind of diminishes throughout the day
Okay.
as we use up our mental energy.
Oh, interesting.
It's like a muscle.
Gets fatigued.
Exactly. It gets fatigued
Maybe
with
it-
use.
So it's not that we're just weak-willed.
Not necessarily.
We just need to be more strategic
It's about being strategic
about how we expend our willpower.
with how we use it. Yeah,
And that's where things like mindfulness come in
absolutely.
and stress management.
Daytime.
Because the podcast makes this point
Yeah.
that stress can really hijack
Oh, yeah.
our willpower.
It can.
When we're feeling overwhelmed,
Uh-huh.
our brains go into survival mode
Yeah.
and we just reach for,
The quickest comfort,
yes,
immediate gratification.
like what?
Oh, you know that bag of chips?
The bag of chips,
The extra glass of wine?
couple glasses of wine.
We all have our vices,
We
right?
do, we do.
But they emphasize
Yeah.
that there are healthier ways
Okay.
to cope with stress.
Like what?
Things like exercise,
Exercise. Okay.
meditation, spending time in nature.
Okay.
These activities can help replenish
Our willpower.
our willpower reserves
Oh, interesting.
and help us make better choices.
So it's not just about resisting temptation.
Right.
It's about creating
It's about creating an environment
an environment
that supports our self-control.
that supports it. Okay.
Exactly. It's a more holistic approach.
I like that.
Thinking about the bigger picture.
Yeah. So it's about understanding your triggers,
Yes.
managing stress levels,
Uh-huh.
and setting yourself up for success
Exactly.
by creating a routine that works,
Creating that supportive routine.
that supports your goals.
Yeah.
And they do acknowledge
What's that?
that slip-ups are inevitable.
Oh, of course, we're human.
Yeah, we are human.
Right. We're
Yeah.
going to make mistakes.
We're not perfect.
Exactly. And they make this important distinction
Okay.
between setbacks and failure.
Oh, okay.
A setback
Uh-huh.
is just a temporary detour
Okay.
on the road to your goals.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you failed.
Right.
It just means you need to readjust
Okay.
and keep moving forward.
It's like they're encouraging us
To be kind to ourselves.
to embrace that progress over perfection.
Exactly. Progress, not perfection.
Yeah, I like that.
Right.
And then they brought in a language expert
Oh, yeah, Charlotte.
to talk about
vocabulary.
the importance of understanding the vocabulary
Yes.
related to these concepts.
Which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant.
Because sometimes just
Yeah.
having the right words to
Uh-huh.
describe what we're experiencing
It'd be empowering.
can be so empowering.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like it gives you a sense of control.
Over what you're going through.
And she talked about how understanding the differences
Mm-hmm.
between words like discipline,
Self-control, willpower, motivation, all these different terms.
Can actually help us
Better grasp these concepts
and apply them
in our lives.
in our lives. Yeah.
It's like having a more nuanced vocabulary.
Gives you more tools to work with.
More tools, absolutely.
You can articulate your goals more clearly, understand your own motivations, and ultimately have more control over your thoughts and actions.
It's almost like learning a new language.
Can be a form of self-improvement.
It's like a form of self-discovery.
In itself.
Yeah.
It expands your thinking.
Opens up new possibilities.
Speaking of possibilities, what stood out to me
What was that?
was that they said everyone has the potential for self-discipline.
Absolutely.
It's not something
The innate talent.
that some people are born with
Right.
and others aren't.
Yeah. It's not like you either have it or you don't.
Right. It's a skill.
It's a skill.
Like any other skill.
That can be learned and developed.
With practice and the right mindset.
Exactly. Anyone can do it.
They gave this example of a woman
Oh, yeah.
who used to struggle.
With procrastination.
And procrastination, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But she started applying these principles
Yeah.
of self-discipline.
Breaking down tasks.
Like breaking down tasks.
Setting realistic deadlines.
Setting realistic deadlines.
Rewarding herself for completing those tasks.
And she was amazed
By how much she accomplished.
by how much she was able to get done.
It's a powerful reminder that we're not limited by our past habits.
Or behaviors.
Or behaviors.
We can change.
We can change. We can grow.
We can become
more disciplined.
More disciplined.
And self-control.
If you're willing to put in
the effort.
The effort.
It's about taking those steps.
So how do we take all this information?
That's the big question, right?
Yeah, and actually apply it.
It's one thing to talk about it.
To our own lives.
It's another to actually do it.
Exactly. And that's where the rubber meets the road.
Where the rubber meets the road.
The podcast really emphasizes.
What's that?
Starting small.
Small steps.
Don't try to overhaul your whole life.
No, not all at once.
Overnight.
One step at a time.
Just pick one area.
Small area.
Where you want to improve your self-discipline.
And make small changes.
And focus on making those small changes.
In that area.
And they talk about
patience, being patient.
Being patient with yourself.
Because it takes time.
It takes time and effort.
And effort.
And there will be setbacks.
There will be setbacks along the way.
But the key is to not get discouraged.
Don't get discouraged. Just keep practicing.
Keep learning.
Keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward.
And remember.
What's that?
You don't have to do it alone.
No, you don't.
There are so many resources out there.
Books, podcasts, articles.
Even apps. Even apps. There's so much out there.
And of course.
We can work with a coach.
A coach or a therapist.
Or a therapist if you need.
If you need more support.
More guidance.
More personalized guidance.
Yeah. So the takeaway here.
What is it?
Is that building self-discipline is a journey.
It's a journey.
Not a destination.
It's a process.
Of continuous learning and growth.
It is.
And it's something we can all achieve.
We can all achieve it.
If we're willing to put in
the work.
The work.
And be patient.
And be patient with ourselves.
Absolutely.
They really did. It's like they took this topic of language learning and turned it into this masterclass in self-mastery.
And in such a fun way. It wasn't like a lecture.
No, it was engaging.
Yeah.
It was a real conversation.
It was.
What I thought was really interesting was how they emphasized that self-discipline isn't about like deprivation or restriction.
Yeah, or like being super strict. Yeah, it's not about punishing yourself.
No.
It's about empowerment.
Yes. That's a great way to put it.
Right.
Empowerment.
It's about freedom.
Yes.
Having the freedom to make choices that align with your values and your goals.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's really, really hard.
Absolutely.
And it's about
being the architect of your own life.
Yes.
Instead of just,
being at the mercy of
your impulses.
Of your impulses, yes.
Of your circumstances.
And they gave us so many good tools.
They did. They gave us a whole toolkit.
To actually make that happen. From habit stacking. Mindfulness. Understanding your triggers.
So many practical tips.
Yeah, they really did give us a toolkit.
Yeah.
And of course, they reminded us that,
What's that?
It's okay to slip up.
Oh, yeah, we're going to stumble.
You're going to stumble.
We're human.
We're human. It's inevitable.
Exactly. The key is to not let those setbacks
define us.
Define you. Yeah.
It's about seeing those setbacks.
Learning opportunity. To get back on track.
Dust yourself off.
Dust yourself off.
And keep going.
Exactly.
And remember,
right.
You don't have to do this alone.
You really don't.
Right.
There's a whole community of people.
There is.
Out there.
Who are on this journey.
On the same path.
Of self-discovery and self-improvement.
We're all in this together.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yes.
I'm curious. What is one small step you're going to take today to strengthen your own self-discipline?
What action are you going to take?
To move closer to your goals.
It doesn't have to be huge.
It can be small.
A tiny step.
Even a tiny step in the right direction.
Exactly.
Can make all the difference.
Maybe it's setting aside 15 minutes.
Oh,
for focused work.
For focused work.
No distractions.
Or choosing a healthy snack.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Instead of that sugary treat.
Or just taking a few deep breaths.
Yeah.
When you feel overwhelmed.
When you're stressed.
Whatever it is.
Make that commitment to yourself.
You got this.
And remember, we are here to support you.
Every step of the way.
Every step of the way.
Keep diving deep. Keep exploring.
Keep learning.
And keep striving to become the best version of yourself.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.